get yourself together before it's too late.
All right. Where are we? Wrong music here. Let's try it again. Well, good evening, everybody. It's Friday night. Usually, of course, we're on Saturday nights, but I don't think I can make it tomorrow night. And even later tonight, I really can't make it. So I decided to come on for, I don't know, a few minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know. It's live, though, and unprepared. And I don't say that with any type of pride or confidence. Today, it's just pure intuition. So I'd like to welcome everybody to Divided We Stand. Most of you who see this will probably see it in the recorded version because this is just an instantaneous thing. And usually that's not the case on Saturday nights. I have no good news to report, but I guess that's not anything new on this channel for sure. But if you are here, thank you very much. And I believe we've got Facebook user here, whoever it is. Could it be Joey? I don't know. Could be anybody. But it's good seeing you while it lasts. It's kind of like life. Lots of things happened today. And I think lots of things generally happen for me during the week. And it was interesting today because on certain Fridays, it's kind of like test day for me as a teacher. And am I a little too loud? And it's kind of an interesting day because it's one day I can kind of relax because I'm pretty much giving tests for the most part, not all my classes. But I'm giving my tests and I get very, very pensive while I'm watching the kids take the test. Good to see you, Epi, a little bit earlier for you in Scotland. 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 I've just embarrassed myself. Anyway, it's a pleasure to see you. And I feel good that it's earlier for you. You've paid the price more than anybody. Anyway, back to my point. So it was test day today. And like my thoughts, they go in all different directions from one minute to the next. And you're probably not all that much different from me. I mean, it's difficult to concentrate on any one thing, just the way the brain works. And I went from one bad thought to one morose thought. And it just kind of continued. Hi, Sandy. Yeah, I'm Sandy. I'm only going to be on for around 20 minutes. And I certainly didn't want to overstep your channel. In fact, I looked at your channel to make sure. And I didn't see any. I saw something like you have something on the 25th, which is already passed. But I will be leaving before your channel goes on because I do want to see the Phillies game. And I'm not in like a super mood anyway. I mean, but I do want to get through some things because I can commiserate with all of you. And it's my opinion that even though, we live separate lives, I think because we share many, many common interests and philosophies that I can't obviously be much different than anybody out there. Hi, Kim. Hi, everybody. So as I was saying, I had all these negative thoughts running through my brain as the test was going on. And the trapdoor happened and it led me to that one thing that I hate talking about in my mind. And that is the death of one of my dogs. And I don't want to go into it because it gets very, very difficult. But long story short, I went into this 30 or 40 second deep thought during class thinking about that moment when I knew that I couldn't do anything. I remember looking at my hands and my arms and they were all tightening up. And this expectation that I had deep in my brain that maybe I could do something, that if I just forced it myself enough that something could happen. You know, it's kind of akin to, if you've seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you know, when Jack Nicholson plays McMurphy and McMurphy's trying to lift that huge apparatus and throw it through the wall to break out, right? And he really believes he's going to do it. And even after his failure, he gets back in there and he does it again. And he tightens up. Well, that's that feeling, that very feeling that I had. And like all those feelings, it always ends in the trap door, which I think all of us kind of know. And that is that, you know, we feel powerlessness when we have to accept the truth of it, you know, kind of like accepting our fates. And I don't know really what was the tipping point today, but I had heard the news about Nancy Pelosi's husband, which is more or less, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree with me, in that even though it was the husband, it was the attack was meant for that one person, that strong female individual. It could have been Hillary. It could have been, you know, any one of the strong Democratic women, AOC. But I realized that I'm in that position because I was in the classroom looking at my arms in that same way that I felt with my dog. Not quite, of course, as traumatic, grant you. But it was the realization. And I said to myself, the Hurly-burly has begun. And it all kind of adds up. We look at all the things that are being done through the courts. We're trying to fight Trump. We're trying to fight Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, and they go through this cycle of, yeah, we've got them, and then we don't have them, and they appeal, and they get out of it. And it's this long cycle of a million Kyle Rittenhouses getting away with it. And then we have climate change, and it keeps getting hotter, and it doesn't matter what anybody does. Nobody's giving in. And then we have Ukraine, and Putin won't give in, and the Russians say, we've got to win this thing because we're Russia. Whether we're right or wrong, we just have to win. And that certainly sounds familiar. Right? I mean, that's basically the way the Republicans feel. It doesn't matter. Lies are acceptable now. It's a whole new ball game. The ball game we've discussed, the ugly ball game, not the one played later tonight. But getting back to the Hurly-burly, I guess that was what, Shakespeare or something? I don't know, but I know that I've heard it before. But the Hurly-burly has begun internally and externally. And that feeling of powerlessness that I have. But I know you. I know you all. And it's a good feeling, but it's also a saddening feeling. It's a bittersweet irony that you, whoever you are out there, you're probably a lot like me. So the pain is multiplied. The frustration is multiplied. And who feels it first, or who gets to that point to say there's nothing that can be done, though you still have to fight, like I did for my dog, every second, every goddamn second. You're like me. I know you are. Maybe you speak with a different accent. Maybe you're a different sex, different age. But you're me. You are me. And I'm not telling anybody to give up. Believe me, this isn't one of these things where I tell you, you know, the cause is gone. Now the cause is greater than ever. But like Charles Bukowski kind of said, you can't win this thing. Which is probably why he said on his tombstone, don't try. Because trying, in his mind, is trying to fix things that can't be fixed. The game was rigged right from the beginning. It really was. And maybe this frustration is more out of a youth that we all experienced, watching Disney in 1964, when the colors, or not even the colors, because it was black and white back then in my family, but, you watched Disney and you watched all the magical cartoons and movies. Everything was possible. And it's funny because a lot of things have been possible. We have this thing you can do. A lot of things have been possible. But, the big but, there has to be a realization for us all, a growing up. And I'm talking about myself here. I'm not preaching to you. I'm just talking one-to-one. I'm not here to tell you or be a shaman or to be anybody but myself. I am nobody to take advice from. I'm not even sure I want to take advice from myself. But it just seems to me we're the bull in the bull right now. You and I, every one of you individually, collectively. And I'm 62. Funny thing is, I'm feeling better. I lost some weight and all that kind of stuff. But I know that the way things are going with this, it's not sustainable, friends. And I mean friends. You in a certain way, you are truer friends than people I thought were my friends. We're just essentially on distant planets, but we're kind of like, what is it? Those the electrons that can kind of communicate, or particles that can communicate with each other at incredible distances. That's what matters. We're on the Titanic, but not giving up. I mean, you almost can't give up. You think about those people who did die on the Titanic. They're falling off the ship, right? But they're still clawing on because they want that extra 3 seconds. And maybe they paddle for a few more. Or when they're 5 feet under, and then they're 7 feet under, they're gasping to get up. In that one courageous attempt, which deserves incredible praise. In that moment of not only risk, but ultimate failure, that they succumb, but whilst they fight that indomitable surrounding. So in this show tonight, I just wanted to tell you just how upsetting it was to hear what happened to Nancy Pelosi. Hi, everybody. I'm just seeing these I saw Sandy's comment. I really feel bad. And Sandy, I meant, if you're still there, I needed one or two more of those picture things for my intro to put you on there, because I think you were on our show too. I kept thinking of all the people on the show, and then I created the video. I said, geez, I got to put Sandy on there, but I'll get you in there, believe me, okay? I really feel bad about that. And if anybody here does not know anything about Sandy's channel, please subscribe to the Environmental Coffee House, especially on the Facebook page. It's another channel where there's this valiant attempt to do the right thing. But again, getting back to today, I was sickened. But I'm at the point now where it seems acceptable for these people to do things. And the reason why I say that is not just that they did it. It's that others were essentially endorsing what had happened in a left-handed way. And then the way that it happened, it's the hammer, That's kind of like a 17th or 18th century Russia thing, It wasn't even going to be, a gun or a quick death. No, it was going to be hammer to the head. They wanted the suffering, It was like Raskolnikov with the axe right straight, like a dolphin fin coming straight for the woman's head. And it hit. It was a primordial act in the modern age. And it shows you exactly what I've been saying about human beings and how they have not changed in 10,000 years. They'll hit you over the head with a mallet or a hammer or a stone. Most of them. So what can you say? Now you know why I was like this. It wasn't any one thing. It was all of them. And then it brought up my worst memory. Not being able to do something at that moment of crisis. Not being able to do. Imagine you hear these stories of great strength that people have. Like he lifted up the car when, I guess certain adrenaline can help you do certain things. But imagine not being able to lift up the car. And as a society, I think that's where we are. That the car is too heavy and your loved ones under there. It's very depressing. But what we have to be to each other always is truthful. We have to be truthful about this. I have no conspiracy theories. No bullshit. It's just what is. Let's go look around. See here. We have Foggy Ozark here. Good evening, Foggy. Epi, you too. But sorry, what age? I'm going to go all around here, folks. My eyes are going crazy tonight. What age are my students? My students range from the age of, I would say, 14 to 19. And all levels of caring and uncaring. And that's another issue, too, in general across the United States and perhaps the world. There are some young people in the world who really give a damn, and there are many who, even like us when we were young, who were focused on that moment, going outside and playing. We didn't know really what was going on in our parents' lives. Now you're just out there, doing your thing. And meanwhile, there were crises going on, like 68 in the Democratic National Convention, which I did see on television and I was affected by. I was alone in a room in Cape Cod, I think, and I saw that. That affected me. But yes, that would be 14 to 19. At the midnight hour. Okay, so at least we're in the same day almost, right? Right. Yeah, Kim, you have empathy, and I know that. Yeah, everything always. I think all of these moments of sadness lead back to the one. For me, I don't know why that one hurt the most, but that one hurt the most. But it really is a metaphor for all of us in a certain sense. I mean, we've all kind of experienced those kind of things. Kim she's experienced that with her dog, and nobody has to tell her, about pain, and she knows. It was exactly what I felt. But I'm getting back to the way society is. It can't sustain itself. It is that situation as a whole. And perhaps we're playing the role of the dog this time. Right? I mean, it's not very poetic, but it's a good analogy, I think. And that is that we become the dog. And maybe we invent things like Walter Mitty or something like that somehow we're going to get out of it. Almost like a dream. And probably that's the only place you'll get the power to do that type of thing, is in your dreams. And it's funny because even in your dreams, it's not as... you might be able to fly in a dream. I've done that before. Floated, I think. But in most of my dreams, it's the power's cut off, You're running this sprint and you can't move. Or the tidal wave's coming and you can't get away from it. It pretty much explains it. It doesn't take much to figure it out. But it all is a great tragedy. We're part of this great tragedy because the system was set up in a way that we were, as Bukowski said, doomed to failure. And I'm not trying, to have you, put a pillow over your head tonight and say, oh my God, this is... No, and I look, you got to search for some good things in this. You've got to. We have too much invested in our own lives. We were thrown into this thing, right? It's like you're thrown into a horror movie, and all of a sudden you're the starring role. You're first the spectator, then you're playing the role. And even as a citizen in these United States, and I'm going to bring this up because a Russian brought this up. He tried to, walk around the difficulties in Russia right now, but he said, we're simply spectators in this. He was talking about over there because you have no control of the military, you have no control of the media, you have no control of the courts, you have no control of the politicians there. Business, nothing. You have no control. You are simply a spectator. And I think that's what we've become. And I say we, that's what I've become. I'm more of a spectator than a doer. Yes, I went to protests against Jeff Van Drew, a couple of them. I'm doing this shit, which isn't shit. It's shit in the good way, I'm trying to do something. But as much as we're really trying, I turn off my lights when I have to, I recycle, do all the things that we really should do. But in the end, being who I am and who we are, and I'm not trying to demean anything that you folks do, we are spectators in this. We are spectators in life. We are spectators to our own consciousness. We are spectators to our own difficulties that come our way. And even if it is good right now, things can lead to difficult times, even when you think it's going good. And I think where I could be going with that. And I don't want to bring, not now, that up. But we've seen life change for us, even on the show, from one show to the next. Everything gets turned upside down. A life. And it can happen to me, and it can happen to you, and it does, and it has, and it will, and it could, it might. So you can't celebrate the touchdown in the end zone. You never can, because right there, it's going to be staring us in the face. You and me. Yeah. But we can commiserate, and we can get out of that one thing that we don't want, the one very thing none of us wants, and that's to feel like we are alone. And as in that movie, I mentioned a lot of movies here, and because they do have an effect on me. It was that, I brought this up before. 9 or whatever. It was the third in the series of the guy who did The Exorcist. Stacy Keach was in it. Maybe you can refresh my memory, somebody, real quick. I forget the movie. Hello, everybody. I'm not even checking. Does anybody remember the movie? It was called not Killer Kowalski. That's a wrestler. Killer Kane at one time, and they changed it back. I'm thinking Conventional 9. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I've told you to watch it. One of the lead roles in the film played this guy who was an astronaut, and the reason why he chickened out to go to space is because he had this incredible fear that he'd be out there dying alone. He could fathom, understand, take ownership of the idea that he would die, but he couldn't face being out there alone in the distance of being absolutely alone. Yeah, there's a difference between, well, even if you were on an island alone, you'd see the birds or an ant or whatever it is. You'd see something, so you weren't really alone. You could develop even a relationship with a volleyball, right? But if you were out in cold space and your body just was in that spaceship forever and ever, or whatever, yeah, brain fart, that's what it is. It's a tough thought, So at the very least, we kind of have that. We can say, when however this thing plays itself out, which is not playing out well. Whatever way you want to look at the political issue, the climate, the war, World War III, arguing with your neighbor, North Korea, it doesn't matter. It's all happening. Yeah, well, being alone, yeah, I get that, being alone. There's a certain interest in being solitary, but I'm talking like really alone, like out in, imagine like just the dark sea and you're stuck out there. You'd be alone, right? But that would be kind of ugly because if you were out in the middle of space, you wouldn't have air. Like, just suppose if you were out in the high seas and you were alone in the dark, you wouldn't want to die that way. There's a difference between being solitary and you're really not solitary because you see the clouds. You might see a passing squirrel. It might give you some confidence. Or maybe you couldn't see at all or hear anything. Remember that? Like Johnny got his gun from World War I. You don't even have eyes to see and ears to hear. Maybe your taste buds are gone. There are fates worse than death. And as these things approach, it's like pinpricks telling you that this thing can get you. It can get you. And if it hasn't now, good chance it will. Yeah. So it's been a strange week because through the ups and downs of the week, I've lost a lot of faith in what we can and what we can't do. And even for myself, that, I've had a good 3 or 4 months. Lost 37 pounds. Good doctor's appointment. Getting some more sleep, those kind of things. But there's just something that has gone that way. There's a big price for knowing the truth, right? There's a big price for knowing the truth. It's good to know that there isn't a Santa Claus, right? Because you'd know the truth. Oh, wow, really? There wasn't that guy? But you have to give something else up. And that magic feeling you have. This is something good is waiting out there. The pie in the sky. I always wanted it. Yeah. It's really, really a shame. And I think that's why everybody went to movies back during World War II in 1941, because it was one of those times when people had to wake up. America in the 30s, late 30s, the music was just wonderful, and kids were dancing in high schools. Yeah, it was depression, but they're kind of starting to get out of it. But 41 was bad, and we didn't know that we were going to win the thing. So people went to movies. Escapism. It was wonderful. And I like it myself, except I don't like the movies today. I was very, very lucky to grow up watching movies in the late 60s and the 70s, which was a wonderful period for movies. Maybe not so much the color. Color got worse in the 70s. It was like a cheaper thing. But, yeah. There's a price for knowing the truth. But all in all, ladies and gentlemen, I think when you analyze it, or at least when I analyze it, would I rather have been in the Disney world, like I would accuse the opposition of, or would I rather know the truth as Bukowski and Lenny Bruce and George Carlin and all of the famous people we know who kind of spoke the truth knew? Malcolm X. I don't think that I would have done very well on the other side anyway. There was always that suspicion. That mom put a dollar bill under your pillow when your tooth fell out. Right? I mean, the tooth fairy was a good idea. And for a few hours, you'd feel real good. Like, you think, wow, something good's going to happen. But do you really want that? Do you really want virtual reality instead of this? Maybe. Yeah, there you go. Brutal. I think you just nailed it. My eyesight's bad tonight. That's why I got a VR headset. Nothing beats flying in space in a spacecraft after returning from a daily rat race. Yeah, well, maybe that is the answer. Maybe we need to live our lives in virtual reality. Reality's just as beautiful as it can be. It's very deceptive. There's a whole lot of killing out there. Evolution is pretty nasty. Yeah, Joey just mentioned that. Thank you, Joey. On Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David, in one of his shows, he spoils it. He tells the kid that there's no such thing as a tooth fairy. And they get all over him. And I think that's why Larry David, in those shows, it's so interesting and so funny, because they see him as this guy who just ruins the party. And generally, he tells the truth, and that's the problem. He generally will just come right out and say it. You're taking too much time at the front of the line. Okay? You don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. That's very disturbing, that sound you're making. He's always truthful. But because he's direct and tells the truth, he spoiled the party. He turned off the Disney film, so to speak. Joey, I know, Joey, you really like Larry David. Larry David's a big fan of Joey because Joey, I'll be a little bit, just between you and me, Joey, you used to cause a lot of trouble some days, remember? And Joey would like that. Joey would like having fun. So, the good old J's, Joey, right? Yeah. Anyway, I ramble. Hey, by the way, that's another thing I want to mention before I finish up today, because again, I want to watch the game. And I won't be on tomorrow night. I just can't. I actually thought of just recording this and doing this. But I thought, you know what? It's just my style to do the live thing. I mean, I journalist. I used to do recorded programs, and some of them I had to have recorded. For example, I was doing a video, a tutorial explaining how to create a silhouette in, I don't know, it was Photoshop or whatever. That had to be recorded because it had to go through a technique, and that's not something that is easily done live. However, I think it's because I grew up as a musician doing improvisation. It's like Dave and I, have always gotten along well because we were both improvisers. Dave and I taught the same way. We walk into a classroom and we don't have a specific plan. It's kind of like a Larry David show. You have a general outline of this is the content I kind of want. I'm going in there and I'm going to react to what comes my way. And if I'm able to pull it off, I'll do it. And that's not to disparage anybody who has non-live shows or live shows and does this or that. I'm just saying, I feel comfortable speaking with you. I like the idea of bouncing off things and seeing where my brain's going to go, because I literally am like you. I'm actually a viewer of my own brain in a certain sense. I don't know what's coming out next. I had a general idea that when I talked about Pelosi and my anger today, but I knew nothing about what I was going to say. But I just feel that that's the way I'm going to operate. And if I've done my homework, if I've read enough on the subject, if I've watched enough on the subject, if I've experienced enough on the subject, that I should be able to do this unplanned and natural, because that's what I like the most. It's just a natural, because I have to be myself. Even as I do this with my hands, it's me. This is exactly who I am. I can't be anything but this, unless I use other personas, like using the faces that I use. But even then, that's improvisation too, right? Because I have to make crap up. Yeah. So, yeah. It's what I like. So I said to myself, nah, I'll just go live. Why even worry about recording? Because I'll just unrecord it. And that's what Dave used to do too. A couple comments here. It's all the deck chairs on the Titanic. Soon enough, it won't matter. Yes, Keith, that's generally... And it won't matter. It really won't matter for all of us, because we are just the nature of living. Evolution builds in death. Has to die, or we'd be too crowded. So we're all on the Titanic anyway. It's just... Maybe we're just a little lower in the ship, you know what I mean? The ones who had like the third class tickets get locked in, we're kind of there. Nina, thanks for the opportunity to join you 2 weeks ago. I wasn't quite myself, headache. Would appreciate another discussion. Absolutely, Nina. It's always wonderful to speak to my friends here, especially too with the folks from Canada, because it's just, I find it enthralling that my Canadian friends are so invested in what's happening down here. It really is. Because it means you care. I'm not a flag waver, and I'm sure you folks aren't either. You care as decent human beings, and you know the difference between right and wrong, and it's very heartwarming, my friends, as all of you are. But I'm just saying it's interesting from Canada because they're not from the States, but they feel like Veg every show he has. You can tell he gets just as upset with Marjorie Taylor Greene as I do. He's not even from the country, and he feels it like I do. He gets it. Russian and Chinese trolls pretending to be manga and the far left social media and Yahoo comments caught a few with their way in English. Yeah. I appreciate you all. Thanks for collaborative thinking. Wishing peace and balance for us, planet. Balance. It would be nice, wouldn't it, Nina? It would be nice. I don't want to blow anybody's parade. It would be nice. It would have. I'm the one who said it would have been nice. because I've never seen the true balance. Both sides of the scale are. It is really like a game. It is, as Mendham says, it's gladiator warfare. You know, and we have to deal with it. Yeah. Anyway, game's gonna be on soon. I grew up with sports, and it's the one outlet. I know it's kind of crazy to get into sports, but for me, I think it's like getting high or something like, or drinking. I don't drink, and I don't get high. But I'm saying when I did in college, just sometimes the pressure's so great, it's gotta be done, because, and the sports give me that. I'm in that vicarious world, even though it doesn't really matter. In the end, I don't play for the team. But for 2 hours, that's my Disney. Yeah. Which sport, Nina? I'm a big hockey fan. That's my sport. However, it's baseball. I love all the sports. I really do. I played them all. All the 4 major sports. But it's the baseball game. The Philadelphia Phillies against the Houston Astros. It's a magical time. It's almost like Christmas in Philadelphia when the teams make it wherever, especially the Phillies, because the Phillies have lost more games than any pro team in baseball. But they've been around longer than any pro team right now, 139 years, so they had to lose the most. But we've only been there 8 or 9 times of all those years, so we know what the hell it is. It is kind of like a metaphor for what we deal with. Yeah. Well, my friends, it was a wonderful 42 minutes and 52 seconds or whatever it was. It doesn't matter. It was real. And I was actually shocked. I thought I was literally going to have around 3 or 4 people. I know Joey's always there for me. Joey, I appreciate it. We joke a lot, but I do appreciate it. And to see you guys here and gals. And Nina, we'll have you on again. And everybody, again, watch Environmental Coffee House. Watch Vegematic and T-Bone. I haven't heard from T-Bone. I hope everything's okay. It's kind of like one big team. We kind of cycle around and that. So. And the rest of you, thank you. I'd just like you to show up. So anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and a wonderful next week. Knock wood. I'll be here next week to see all of you. And maybe something good will happen. Until then, be well. Yeah. All right, Sandy. So Sandy's going to have a 9 o'clock show. I'm going to change gears into the cattle industry. Oof. I had my vegetarian meal for dinner. T-Bone did a stream, really. I'll have to check it out. See you, Epi. From over the pond. Thank you. Because I know it's late. Bye, Foggy. Bye, Kim. And we'll see you. Kinky. Ciao. Bye-bye, everybody.